Welcome to the April 8, 2019 meeting of the Florissant City Council. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Jones. Here. Egan. He is not here yet. Caputa.
Here.
Shildroth. Here. Hanky. Here. Pagano. Here. Parson. Siam. Harris.
Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Are there any corrections, additions to the meeting and executive meetings of April 22nd, 2018? Hearing none, Councilman Shildroth moves to approve the minutes, second by Councilman Harris. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Next item is Certificate of Appreciation. Certificate of Appreciation for Karen Graham, presented by Mayor Lowry and Council President, myself.
This is it. Yeah. Is she here?
Ms. Graham?
We would like to extend our sincere appreciation for your endless support and countless hours of continuing to keep our city beautiful in the Valley of Flowers. On behalf of Mayor Timothy J. Lowry and the Florissant City Council, we commend you for your dedication and commitment to and cannot thank you enough. Go from there. You want to go? Logistics. You're good.
Am I on? Okay. I just want to say a personal thank you to Karen as well. So I've gotten to know her over the last couple of years, and Karen and I met because there was this NOCO Rocks movement. It's a Kindness Rocks movement, and Karen just embraced that, and she really went out of her way to help a whole bunch of people feel kindness, and so she was involved in that. And then also there was I'm a member of a PTA at a local school, and we needed somebody to watch the kids so more parents could come, and Karen came out of nowhere and just said, "Hey, I'll do it." And she came and she watched the kids for us, her and her daughter. Her daughter also was doing service hours. So there's that. And then also, she also goes, and I see her a lot of times in the schools, she is with the kids during lunch. Sometimes the teachers, they get there and the kids need help with their lunches, and so the teachers can't go and have their lunch until the kids are settled. Well, Karen has stepped up and she's done that as well. So there are many, many things that Karen and her family do to serve this community, not just the litter pickup. I just want to say that and a special thank you to her in the way that she supports the school system as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to amend the agenda for the proclamation for the police department.
Second. Seconded by.
Second by Gerard.
All in favor? All in favor?
All in favor?
Okay.
Ayes have it.
We're official. Whereas we acknowledge 2019 National Police Week to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. And whereas there are approximately 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Florissant Police Department. Whereas nearly 60,000 assaults against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 16,700 injuries. Whereas sadly, over the last decade, an average of 151 officers a year have been killed in the line of duty. And throughout the U.S. history, more than 21,000 law enforcement officers have made the ultimate sacrifice. Whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved in the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas the new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 41 officers killed in 2019 to date, and 163 officers killed in the previous year. Whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day, in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. Now therefore, I, Timothy J. Lowry, Mayor of the City of Florissant, and the City Council do hereby formally designate May 12th through May 18th, 2019 as National Police Week in the City of Florissant, and publicly salute the service of the law enforcement officers in our community and the communities across the nation.
Thank Chief Fagan and the entire Florissant Police Department for everything that they do here in the city of Florissant. And I always believe that we have probably one of the most outstanding police departments, not just here in the St. Louis area, but this country. And I certainly appreciate everything that he does and all his officers do for our citizens every day. The other thing I want to mention also is that we've had 3 officers that have paid the ultimate sacrifice and died in the line of duty here in the city of Florissant. And that's Officer Marion Reef. I believe it was 1965. He was our first officer that fell in the line of duty. Lieutenant Jay Noser and Officer Glenn Furnow. And I'd like to have a moment of silence in their honor and all officers that have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. I'll pass it over to Jeff for a minute.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this reflects on the City of Florissant's Police Department, what we have. We have the top-notch department around. And the City Council that we have now has a very good relationship with our police department. And we plan on continue on doing that, having that good relationship. There's a lot of cities that can't say that, of the relationship that we have with our police department. And Chief Fagan, we have the utmost confidence in you to run in this police department, and looking forward to a long time working with you. Congratulations.
Should we do the kids in parks one first, or wait? They're not gonna, there's nobody to get it. Shoot. I'm just gonna do it. Yeah. I'll read this one first and then
Next item is proclamation, is it Kids to Parks Day.
Whereas May 18th, 2019 is the 9th Kids to Park Day, organized and launched by the National Park Trust, held annually on the 3rd Saturday of May. And whereas Kids to Park Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it is important to introduce new generation to our national parks. And whereas we should encourage children to lead more active lifestyle to combat the issue of childhood obesity, diabetes, mellitus, hypertension, and I don't know how to pronounce that one. Hypercholesterolemia. Whereas Kids in Parks Day is open to all children and adults across the country and encourage a large and diverse group of participants. And whereas Kids to Park Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and outdoors. Now therefore, I, Timothy J. Lowry, Mayor of the City of Florissant, Missouri, do hereby proclaim and to participate in Kids to Parks Day. I urge residents of the City of Florissant to make the time on May 18th, 2019, to take the children in their lives to the neighborhood, state, or national park.
Next item is the Municipal Clerks Week. Ms. Pagano?
Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal court is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of municipal court provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality, impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, Timothy J. Lowry, Mayor of the City of Florissant, do hereby proclaim the 50th anniversary of Municipal Clerks Week, May 5th through May 11th, 2019, and extend appreciation to our municipal clerk, Karen Goodwin, and to all municipal clerks for their vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the community they represent.
So I just want to say, Karen, congratulations. Thank you for all you do. And she certainly is recognized, not just locally, by the state and the international associations that she's so active in. And she brings so many great ideas back to the city of Florissant. And her biggest job right now is she's trying to guide me through this new job I have. And she's done an outstanding job so far. I've known Karen 10 plus years now, and she just has done an outstanding job. And I promise you, she's one of the best municipal clerks in this area. And we appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Karen, I mean, if it's not for the city clerks, the cities wouldn't be running. I mean, they do a lot of work for the city and for the city council and the mayor. I mean, I always used to kid around with Karen, calling her Mayor Goodwin instead of Karen Goodwin, and you get a kick out of it. And but she is one of the best city clerks around. We hear it every time we go to a municipal league. They ask where we're from. The city clerk asks where we're from. We say we're from Florissant. She goes, "Oh, Karen Goodwin, she's one of the best." I said, "Yes, she is." So we all should be proud of Karen, and let's give her another hand for being the best city clerk around. Thank you, Karen. Next item is hearing from citizens. This is the time to speak to the council on any issues not necessarily on the agenda for 3 minutes. It's not a question and answer period. If you would like to speak to one of the council members or the mayor, please stay until after the meeting is over and we'll get with you. If you are here to speak on the public hearing, please wait and speak when the public hearing is announced. First one is Mary Sullivan.
Good evening to everyone. Thank you for hearing my comments. I grew up in Florissant.
Can you state your name and
I'm sorry.
address for the record, please?
Mary Sullivan, My address is 8 Manor Drive, Ward 2.
Thank you.
I grew up in Florissant. I attended St. Ferdinand Elementary School, went on to Hazelwood High School, and then from there graduated from Deaconess Hospital School of Nursing along with SLU for my bachelor's of nursing. I had a distinguished career here as a nurse as well as in California. I inherited my childhood home on Manor Drive and elected to come back to Florissant. I was proud to come back to Florissant, but I was also shocked to find out what had happened to Florissant since I'd been gone. I sent an email to all of the council members and I received replies from 3, and I appreciate those replies. Basically, my concerns are, I don't see a proactive position as far as bringing new business as well as young families to the city of Florissant. I served 2 terms as an elected school board member in California, and I know that a lot of these things don't happen unless you find the money. I know that the revenues here don't seem to match the expenses. That's very concerning to me because I'm concerned that Florissant will go into bankruptcy if we continue this way. What I'd also like to see is a more welcoming approach to people coming to Florissant. I hear a lot of complaints about people parking on the street. I just heard this from Tim the other night. People are complaining about parking on a city street for school events. We had a Thai festival, and I wonder if we don't make it convenient for parents seeing their children contribute to their success in education, why would we want to make it more difficult for them? Additionally, the Thai festival was very well attended, but all along Lindsay Lane, there were sawhorses up that said no parking, no parking. So they were parking wherever they could, but then there were complaints about that as well. I just don't think that shows that we welcome people here. And what if many of those people saw Florissant and said, hey, I want to live here, but we don't do that. We shoo them away. Additionally, I don't think that the past way we handled bringing new business to Florissant is going to work for us. In the past, apparently everybody wanted to come to Florissant. Now we have to compete with other communities. And when I go and see other communities in the county and the city, I see that they have a plan in place. I want to know what the plan is. I want to know what the vision is for Florissant. I'm more than willing to help with the solution, to volunteer my time in any way I can. But I just need to hear some forward motion on this because it just seems stagnant to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Robert Smith.
Robert Smith, 2823 Chapel View, Ward 4. Kind of piggybacking on that, I came up on March 25th and asked about the financial reports for the city, and I understand that they're implementing a new system, and to this date, there's only been 1 month added, and that's December of 2018 for the monthly reports. We're halfway in to our fiscal year, and there are no monthly reports, there are no quarterly reports, and there's no audit. We can't look online and see how our city's functioning financially if they're not going to post anything. So I thought that was the whole point of getting things straightened out and making them a little easier for the citizens to see where this money's at. And I can't see the, like they say, I can't see the money. I don't see anything. But we can move money around and take money from one account to another. We don't know how much money is in those accounts. So my comment is, if we could get those done immediately, I mean, we've got a financial advisor for the city, so I thought that was part of their job. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next item is communications. Clerk, please read the communications.
Memo received May 9th, 2019 from M. Zinwelski and R. Hoffman regarding a smoke and sip special use amendment.
Next item is public hearing. Public hearing number 1905007. This application was with,
Let me read it first, and then you can. Notice is hereby given in accordance with Section 405135 of the Florissant City Code, the zoning ordinance as amended, that a public hearing will be held by the City Council of the City of Florissant, St. Louis County, Missouri, in the council chambers at 955 Rue St. Francois on Monday, May 13th, 2019, at 7:30 p.m. on the following proposition: to issue an amendment to B5 ordinance number 6669 as amended to allow for a new clothing store with exterior changes and property located at 13995 New Halls Ferry Road. Citizens and parties of interest will have an opportunity to be heard at said public hearing. Anyone with special needs should contact the city clerk at least 5 days before said public hearing by calling 839-7630 or TDD 839-5142.
yeah, this application was withdrawn by the applicant on May 1st, so this is closed.
You need to allow anyone to speak if they...
Mr. Jones?
Nope, pass.
Thank you.
How do you do that? Do you allow anybody in to speak and then we actually close?
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this public hearing? Seeing none?
Need to move to close it.
Yeah. Where's this? Mr. Siam moves to close the public hearing. Second by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
There you go.
Public hearing is closed. Next one is public hearing number 1905008.
In accordance with Section 405-310 of the Florissant Zoning Code, a public hearing will be held by the City Council of Florissant, Missouri, in the council chambers at 955 Rue St. Francois on Monday, May 13th, 2019, at 7:30 p.m. on the following proposition: to authorize an amendment to special use permit number 8394 as amendment to Smoke and Sip LLC to allow for enclosure of a patio and pergola for a cigar bar for the property located at 411 Rue St. Francois. Citizens will have an opportunity to be heard. Anyone with special needs should contact the city clerk at least 5 days before said public hearing by calling 839-7630 or TD 839-5142.
Petitioner present. Yes. Please. Anthony, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How you doing?
Good, good.
Anthony Bolson, 132 Robbins Way, Florissant.
You're ready to go?
Okay, are we ready to go to?
Yes.
Okay. Come on up, Tom. How's everybody doing today? Good, good.
Hello, I'm Tom Schoeffel with Lawrence Fabric and Metal Structures. I reside in Kirkwood, Missouri, but I'm here on behalf of Smoke and Sip to ask for
So what we want to do, he's going to show you some pictures of the enclosement that we want to put outside. Because as you know, if you've ever been up to Smoke and Sip, the top is completely open and the sides are open too. So what we want to do to help combat some of the issues of the citizens been having with noise is by putting a cover over the top, a permanent cover, and then having these roll-up sides on two sides of the patio that we can roll up and down at any time to help control some of the noise issues that complaining from the citizens, right? So that's our plan. Now, when we first came to planning and zoning back in February, we presented a different type of a enclosement, which created a big issue about, it was more of a permanent enclosure, and that was like extending the building, and then there was an issue of being able to take these panels down.
Anthony, can you, with the microphone so we can all hear?
I should know this by very hard, shouldn't I? Many times I've been here. Okay, when we presented in February, we were going to put these permanent, well, not permanent, they were enclosures that had to be secured with nuts and bolts, which took about 45 minutes to put up and take down for each one of the panels, which wasn't really convenient, or it wouldn't be any good if we wanted to shut down noise or control the noise on the outside in the summer if we had the panels down. So we had to go back to the drawing board. And so what we did said, let's put these roll-up panels that you can roll up and down at any time. So at any point, which the beauty of it is, if it's on a Friday night and we're having a good time, and if it gets a little loud, the front part of the patio, we can put these panels, we can roll them down, which will reflect the noise. Because if you know how noise travels, right? Noise travels up and it travels this way. So now it's going to travel up into the roof, which is going to come straight back down because we have a permanent roof. Now when it travels this way, when we put up these roll-up panels, it's bouncing back into the patio, right? And then on this side of the patio is a brick wall or the brick building over there. And we still have roll-up panels over there too, if we choose to let them down. So we can enclose it all the way to control the noise a lot better than what it is. Questions?
Mr. Hinkie.
Yes, thank you, Tony. We've had numerous discussions on the noise issue here. And I think at this point in time, I know some of the neighbors around you are here this evening, hopefully to speak on this. I know we have some comment cards here. There's a couple things that I would like to discuss tonight. One of them, I'm going to talk to Mr. Hessel, our attorney, and to impress some of the statistics on the police reports made from this. John, would you want to do that first? And then I would like to ask any of the neighbors that are going to speak at this evening to come forward after Mr. Hessel puts statistics out there.
Mr. Hinkie, they can come up and speak when it's time after the public hearing, when it's the time for anyone to speak on the public hearing.
A couple of things, if I can. I want to make part of the public record the memorandum, the dispatch reports, and the photograph that were referenced as part of the communications previously by the city clerk. That should be part of the record of this public hearing. And I am informed by the police department that between the period of April 27, 2018 through May 7, 2019, the Smoke and Sip has received 64 calls for service for loud music, peace disturbance, and public nuisance. For point of reference, Bunkers, during the same time period, has received 3 similar type calls.
So put those two numbers again, John, just so.
64 calls for loud music, peace disturbance, and public nuisance.
Okay.
Smoke and Sip. Bunkers during the same, and that was for the period of April 27, 2018 through May 7, 2019, so just slightly over a 12-month period. Okay. 64 calls to Smoke and Sip, and 3 during that same time period, similar calls at Bunkers.
Okay, thank you, John.
Now, can I respond to that, please? Sure. Now, when those officers come out for those calls and we talk to those officers, they always told us they was going back to write their reports to tell us that they didn't hear anything. Not one time have we ever been issued a citation for noise or any type of disturbances. Not one time.
I'm going to respond to that myself.
Go ahead.
I find that a little bit
You find that what?
since there are no summonses issued. In other words, the people in the neighborhood decide not to file a formal complaint to go to court. I don't think that's a fair assessment to say since there were no summonses, because what has happened here, Tony, and I've discussed this with you personally, you have sat on my side porch and I've explained to you the neighborhood that we live in. But to say that there were no summonses issued because these good people were hoping that this could be resolved without going to court and have given numerous opportunities. So what you're telling us and what you're telling these is that if need be, then we need to start issuing summonses and take this up in court. We were hoping it would not get to this. And I think that's fair to these people here.
It's not nothing against the people, but Gerard, what I'm telling you is that when the officers come out and address us and they tell us they don't hear anything or they don't hear the noise that the people are calling about, we try to address everything. Every time they come out, we respond to them and try to address it. So if they don't hear anything, what can we do? If the officers coming out and saying they don't hear any noise, then what we do?
Well, I'll ask you a simple question here. We have 60 some odd complaints that come out there and none of them are valid or legitimate complaints?
I never said none of them wasn't valid, Gerard.
Okay, I know.
But I don't believe all 64 of them was noise complaints. I do not.
Okay.
I'll stand by that.
Okay. Like I said a little earlier, I think that the citizens that are around Smoke and Sip need to be heard. That's my job, is to represent them. You are a business, and we welcome you when we open this business up. We've had numerous discussions with you, and I will tell you personally, we've had 4 official meetings with the chief of police, 3 at your place, 1 at the police station with one of the neighbors. We've had numerous conversations over this, and it's not being fixed. What I'm saying is we are going to come up with a valid, legitimate noise abatement program that you guys are going to come up with. I am going to ask a little later on that we continue till we find out, till we can settle this thing. What the potential here is, going through the planning and zoning minutes, is to allow an additional 28 people in there. Now, I know there's people sitting on the patio now, but once you enclose this, it increases the footprint. So it potentially has the potential to increase the noise that's coming out of Smoke and Sip. Okay? Now, we haven't been able to handle the noise that's coming forward, and this potential for this public hearing is to increase it by 28, the capacity of this. It's right in the minutes of planning and zoning. Tony, we are going to resolve this. I've talked to you about this numerous times. This is unacceptable in my neighborhood. These people are going to speak on this, and I would like to let them speak so they can hear from you, so they're not coming through me to you. I want you to hear the neighbors, what they have to say.
Please let me respond to what you said.
Sure.
We're not increasing it by 28. It's really reducing the amount of people that's on the patio. When you enclose the structure out there, it takes away all the chairs that's on the perimeter. So it reduces the number down to 16 versus 28 that's on the patio.
Okay, well, the planning and zoning minutes specifically state that it was going to, occupants are limited, 49 persons for indoor seating, a maximum of 28 for outdoor seating with a fabric structure for a total of 77 customers, which is an increase in the footprint and, according to planning and zoning, an increase in the potential customers. That's all I'm saying. Planning and zoning minutes, not my words. Like I said, Tony, I don't want to get real contentious here, but we are going to get this resolved.
Well, we're trying to resolve it tonight, Gerard. If you look at what we're trying to do up here with the plan we want to put in place, that's going to resolve a lot of it.
Well, we're going to discuss, and at this point in time, I think if anybody else wants to speak, it would be a good time. It's not going to be you and I going back and forth. I want the neighbors to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Hinkie. Mayor?
So, Tony, obviously, I've been down there many times.
Yes.
Brian, Marvin, Gerard, we've had many conversations when I was a police chief about this. And you've always the conversations have always gone very well. You're an absolute gentleman when we talk to you, but unfortunately, the issues never have been totally resolved. And like I said, you and I have talked on many occasions about this, even on the phone sometimes. And to say that the noise isn't a problem, it is a problem, because I've been called many times at my house, and I've either walked over to the business, I've taken my golf cart over there, and it is too loud. In fact, several times that I went over there personally, I didn't even realize that there was music playing because that the people were talking so loudly. So to say that it's not been a problem is really not a true statement at all. My conversation with you is how can we resolve this? I don't know that this is going to be the resolution. I just know that, in talking to you and Marvin, it's a problem. It's been a problem, and it hasn't gotten any better. And of course, now we're getting into the summer months, and it's going to be worse because there's going to be more people outside. So to say that it hasn't been a problem really is not a genuine statement, because it has been. As a matter of fact, it's Marvin, right, as your partner, right? He's even jumped on my golf cart a couple times when we rode around the neighborhood, and to listen to what the problem is behind the neighborhood. So you do know that that's a problem, or you wouldn't be doing this.
That's correct. I never said it wasn't a problem. Because if it wasn't a problem, then we wouldn't be here today.
Right.
We're trying to address a problem out there. We're trying to do something. We're trying to be proactive in the community. That's what we're trying to do. That's all we're asking to do. Let us be proactive, and then let us go. Let us try what we want to do. If this doesn't work, then we'll come back with something different. But let us try what we want to do. That's all we ask.
And then I do think, like Mr. Hinkie says, it's going to be very interesting for you to hear from what the citizens have to say, because I know that there's several going to come over and speak on this. And just listen, because I've heard it, Gerard's heard it, and so I just, like I said, you being a gentleman, just listen to what these people are listening to.
I don't have a problem with that.
And that's what I ask, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Egan.
Thank you. And Tony, I also went over there at least 2 occasions on Sunday evenings, and I was pretty surprised. I wouldn't want that type of noise in my ward. And I think some of it is enhanced, not controllable by you, but when motorcycles leave and they like to get on it and tell everyone they're leaving, that creates, you hear that sound blocks and blocks away. But the reason I buzzed in here, I was interested in, I understand what you're telling me, how you believe that sound travels and how this is going to work. Do we have any experts, any sound experts that can tell us scientifically how this is going to work? Unless you, and I'm not being facetious, unless you have some type of degree in engineering or in sound abatement. I'm not being facetious. That's a straight question.
No, I'm not an expert.
Okay.
I just rely on what my people here, what they're planning, what they're telling me that can be done, and what we
And are you,
expect.
sir, able to talk about that?
No, I've never done any studies on it.
Okay.
I understand there are, you could do a sound study, I don't know.
Okay.
How to do that, or
Okay, that was my point. I mean, I'd love to have some data on that. We're going to put this up, and it's this type of structure has been shown or proven to reduce sound in the past. I'd love to have that data that's available.
it's out there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Mr. Harris.
Thank you. You mentioned that when the police came out, that you tried to address the noise, like when they came out. So what are some of the things that you've tried to do to address it, either when it's happening or proactively? Are there other ways besides the barrier?
Well, what we do sometimes, if it gets too noisy, we go back and ask participants to lower their voices. There has been occasions when we had parties, we asked the party to move on the inside. If it was too late at night, it was making enough noise, we asked them to go indoors to help bring the noise down.
So somewhat of a continuous monitoring then? Or,
Yes.
I mean, I heard the mention of maybe some kind of plan for that. Maybe it could be more formalized, just an idea. Monitor, check, I don't know, maybe some proactive approach of, hey, we're by the neighbors or something,
Well, one of the things we were going to discuss with the chief is we wanted to even put an officer out there. We wanted to bring an officer from the city, so we have an officer out there at all times, especially on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. So now there's an officer present. So if it gets too noisy, we got somebody right there that can respond or tell us, hey, this is too loud, or right there at the moment, at that point in time, they can be taken care of.
Do you think there's a chance, and I apologize, I haven't been there. I know you invited me, and I intend on coming, but, when the music goes up and the voices go up and the music goes up, and then I wonder if that's competing.
It's really it's never an issue about the music.
Okay.
It's just the voices that travel, because the music is never loud outside.
Yeah.
It's just the voices that, and you know how it is on a Friday or Saturday night, people drinking, and everybody tries to out-talk everybody else.
Yeah, I see that in the school cafeteria. So.
Yeah.
So I kind of know how it is. I've dealt with noises and stuff, and
Yes.
so I'm thinking to myself, how do you address this?
Yeah. The only thing you can do, like I said, is you ask people to bring it down some, right? If it's too loud, could you bring it down some? Or you ask people to move inside. It's the only things you can do. Because it's never a music issue. It's always just voices traveling.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask also, with the smoke, I know I read that some of the neighbors were saying that they wound up with smoke in their house, maybe having the windows open or something like that. I mean, has that been something? Is that something that you think the screen would address as well, the smoke issue? I mean, I know that's the nature of the business, but
Yeah, it would, because now it's enclosed.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Before we close this public hearing, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to comment on this public hearing? Please come forward. Steve Purgon.
Yes, Steve Bergon, 380 St. Louis Street. I live about a half a block to a block away, kind of catty corner to it. Originally, when the establishment opened, the noise wasn't a louder issue, and actually within about a few weeks, I think after the police had come several times, things kind of quieted down. I can actually say one night I stopped through there on the way home from my office and introduced myself to Tony, thanked him for actually doing what he could to control the noise. Some of it I understand people are going to get loud. Seemed to be quiet for a while, but then things have picked up. I can say originally in the first 5-6 weeks, I probably called the police 2 or 3 times. Didn't call as much recently. Wintertime, I'm a tax person, so I'm not home a lot during January through April. More recently, it started getting louder again. I did attempt to call directly, called the number that was on the website, got no answer. I called the police. I would rebut the fact that it's not a music issue. On several occasions, not every several occasions, I can say almost every weekend, I can hear the bass at my house. It's not as much as hearing it as well as feeling it. I can say we usually can't have our windows open on the weekends. I don't want the business to close, but I also don't want to live with this. I don't know if the noise screen will work. Fabric will help, I think. I understand I'm not an expert in sound, but I've done sound research because of an establishment I'm getting ready to open and having to reduce the sound level. So sound does not travel as well, just so you guys know, through fabric. My concern with the fabric is this: how often will it be closed? If it's 90 degrees outside, are you going to close that fabric to enclose people now in probably an unconditioned situation in 90-degree heat, which is now going to be 110 degrees in an enclosed situation? I know of 2 neighbors that have moved, both of them citing that the noise was an issue for them. The 2 houses now sit vacant. One's a rental, owned by the people who own the house next to it, who have now moved. I don't think it'll work, personally. I want businesses in Florissant. I have a vision for St. Francis Street. My business is on there. It's a professional services business. And my business I don't want on that street anymore, not because I don't think it's a good place, because I don't think it's the right type of business for that street. I want to see more shopping. I want to see more restaurants, things like that. So I don't necessarily know that I don't want this business to go out of business. I want it to control its noise, control its environment. I have driven through the parking lot one time, and it wasn't their noise. It was 2 young men sitting outside with their trucks blaring the sound, standing outside their car, having a conversation, which I'm not sure how they had a conversation, because I could hear the music loud in my home with the windows shut, and that's why I got in my car and drove through the parking lot, because I'm like, what is this noise coming from? So I think there's a couple issues here. One is the internal noise, and 2 is maybe somewhat uncontrollable, other than having the proprietors police the situation, which is they got to be outside controlling them, their patrons as much as possible. So thank you.
Gina Seavey.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gina Seavey. I live at 990 St. Francis, right across the street from City Hall, and I'm in Ward 6. I think everyone in this room, everyone in this community wants to see our community grow. We want to see revitalization. We want to see new businesses. We want to see restaurants. We want to see bakeries, but not at the expense, not a business that's going to be at the expense of our residents. And that's something that you all should be thinking before you approve the businesses in the first place. Is this a business that's going to affect residents in an adversarial way? So, one of our goals as a community, you, us, all of us, one of our goals should be resident retention. We want to make everything possible, do everything possible to help our residents be comfortable in our community and stay here. When Smoke and Sip opened, there was a family directly behind them with children. They heard obscenities, they heard the loud noise, they heard music, and they had smoke in their home, and they moved. We don't need that. We don't need that to happen. So as a city council, I'm asking you to consider certain businesses, where they're going to be located before you approve them. And consider whether those businesses match the surrounding area, especially when giving approval and businesses in Old Town, because Old Town is pretty much a residential community, more so than a commercial. I live in commercial residential, so I'm used to the types of things that are discussed this evening, but not all people are. And when you move into a home and then a business comes in after you move into the home, that could be very concerning. So throughout history, businesses and residents have been together on St. Francis, and I understand that that's been a norm. But when you bring a business in that creates a health risk with secondhand smoke and these people's homes that they have to breathe and contend with, and the loud noises, that's an injustice to the people who live in this area and who have lived here most of their lives. So I'm here really to voice my opinion and speak on behalf of some residents that have talked to me that live near Smoke and Sip. One of them wanted me to make sure that you know that the people who own Smoke and Sip are very nice people, but their customers are not always nice, and that's a problem for them. So I'm asking that you not approve Smoke and Sip's amendment to their appeal for their special use permit for those reasons, that it's going to increase their footprint, it's going to increase the amount of patrons, it's going to increase the amount of people that are on their parking lot after hours or during hours, it's going to increase the noise, of course, and most importantly, it's going to increase the amount of smoke that these residents are forced to smell and breathe in their own homes. I respectfully ask that you give this matter careful consideration and think about the future implications that it has for other businesses coming to our area. And please, when you have other businesses come to you, think about these kinds of things first before you approve. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Funk?
Hi, Nancy Funk, 430 St. Louis Street. And first and foremost, I wanted to thank the City of Florissant, the Police Department for the past year since Sip and Smoke has been open. And I am directly behind Smoke and Sip. And as other citizens have addressed many of the issues that I face and the other residents of Old Town Florissant face, this is a big concern. It is with the citizens that for a year now, trying is not enough, trying to keep the noise down. It is the loud noises from voices that carry. It is the loud noises from clicking of setting the alarms on your car at all hours of the night. It is the loudness that comes from the laughter, from the outdoor TVs. It is the loudness that comes from, as another gentleman has indicated, from cars that they're playing music that I'm certain that streets over can hear. And this is not at 10 o'clock at night. This is not at 11. This is not at 12. It goes on to 1:30. And I directly every night, when I get up at 4 o'clock to go to my job, 4:30 to get up, to get ready for work, I can still know almost every night of the week, except maybe 2 nights of the week, that at 1:30, by 1:45, 1:30, you're going to start hearing all the people leave with the loud laughter. You're going to hear them go to their cars. I'm going to hear them beep their alarms. I'm going to hear the trash thrown into the container at about 1:45, 2-ish. So we want the city of Florissant to grow economically. We don't want businesses to have to close. But as the lady who just spoke and the gentleman who spoke earlier, there is for the citizens and the residents of Florissant. One, I want to continue, but one, I want to say I want to disapprove an addition of putting fabric that will not at all decrease noise abatement. There's hush houses for aircraft, tactical aircraft, that abate noise. We don't have any engineer SMEs in the audience that we've recognized tonight. Fabric will not do it. And my concern is the noise is coming definitely. I have heard for a year plus, and so has my son. With the windows closed in my bedroom, I hear the bass every single night that I go to sleep. Almost 6 out of 7 nights of the week, I hear that. It has affected me emotionally and even my job. And I've talked to my employer as well. And I am exhausted, literally exhausted from hearing the bass in my bedroom every single night. It's music too, so music, one can argue, music does carry, and noise definitely carries in different ways. But I can hear it and have heard it for a year now. They opened on Valley of Flowers weekend around that time in 2018. We are just in May now, and it is continued. So that has continued. You can hear the music because you can hear the bass. You can hear the noise because you can hear the laughter. Naturally, as folks will progressively, with any type of drug or anything like that, alcohol or whatever, you get louder. Even if you're having a great time, you get louder. So I have the fortunate, and all the other residents, you do hear that noise, and it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse in increasing footprint like others have made that position. And now I want to talk to something else too. I've been a resident since I was 25 years old, coming up to my 50th birthday in June. Like others have mentioned, on the sides of me, had a family that has lived there almost 100 years in the home. They have moved on for 9 months. The other home that was a lease, they have moved out because of this. So I sit next to 2 vacant homes. So not only economic depression in a city when you start losing homeowners and moving out, that's another issue that I have. And the other issue that I have, so trying is not cutting it. For a year we've tried. And honestly, what I also see in tasking our police force is that we always have to have when someone calls. When someone comes to the house, yes, if you don't make a formal complaint, normally at 1:45 or 12:30 at night or 11 o'clock at night, I do not want a police officer or anyone else coming to my door. But I am exhausted from not having the ability to sleep, to enjoy the birds, or to enjoy whatever. Others, throughout the course of 25 years, a few establishments on occasion, a wedding here or there, or a school picnic or whatever, you're going to have few things that come up. And all as residents, you understand that's going to happen, whether like someone spoke earlier. But that is a serious issue. And the other serious issue that I am so frustrated with, I have not been able to open the back part of my windows on my patio that I used to enjoy, because you can. Secondhand smoke is real. There's no safe secondhand smoke. And 23 feet particle, it's called, I forgot the exact terminology for it, but you can smell smoke. And especially you can smell cigar. That's the nature of the business, but you can smell it. And I didn't want to have smoke and cigarette, and you can still smell that when you have it. So we're getting into the summer months like people have stated. When it first opened, you could smell that. You can smell hookah bars, you can smell people, you can smell it on bodies when people walk in and they've been smoking it. So you can smoke that, you can smell that. So I guess what I'm stating here, I'm asking for it to be disapproved. I want the business to continue if, in fact, they're going to be able to control it. But I cannot, and I don't think the citizens of Florissant deserve for someone and a business to say they're going to keep trying, because my patience are shot, and I think that we have to find a better way than saying we're going to try, because there has not been a solution to this. And I don't know how you can control it. And even having a police officer there 24/7, why should we task our citizens to pay for a police to keep coming to one particular establishment? Because if you haven't had an opportunity in a year, in a whole year, to find a way to address the problem, putting potentially a thing around it is a Band-Aid. It's not a fix. It is a Band-Aid, and it's a Band-Aid that's just going to burst because we're not going to have any noise abatement. So I'm pleading with this, and like the lady had indicated earlier, this should be something that we all should collectively be looking at for our citizens in this community to find the best way forward on any type of establishment that we're bringing into the community. We have to keep what we had, the old historical roots of the city of Florissant. We have to grow the city of Florissant with like bakeries and restaurants or bars or whatever the case may be. But it has been exhausting, and I thank everyone for your time tonight. I thank again the police because they did an outstanding job throughout of always sending people, but the reality is for folks is that people are not going to want to each time spend every single week and every single night not sleeping and having to call the police. So thank you, and hopefully you'll take all of this under consideration as you move forward for the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob Holman? Hoffman? Hoffman.
Rob Hoffman. I'm at 306 St. Louis Street. I've been there 25 years, and I don't even know what ward I'm in. I hope that's not mandatory. First off, I'm told I can just do this. There were two residents in the 400 and 300 block of St. Louis that prepared letters, and if you wouldn't mind, I just made 10 copies of them. They're not here for health reasons. Bernie Steinberg, he just had an operation recently, and he's not feeling real well. And my neighbor Carl Morgan, who is next door to me at 330, he's also not real well. So, but they did prepare these. Would it be okay to just go ahead? I don't need to talk about noise. It's pretty obvious. Nancy mentioned something about tobacco and tobacco smoke and secondhand smoke. And I kind of wonder, what is the equivalent of the Hippocratic Oath for you all? I mean, isn't it something like maybe the highest order, the highest magnitude of things that you can do as an elected official is perhaps to protect us? And if it's not, I don't know what's a higher magnitude type of thing than that sort of thing. Now, when I talk to people at the health department, and we talked about smoke and secondhand smoke and other things, and then they sent me the photo that you saw. And if you look at the photo, it's a low-resolution JPEG. It won't be that impressive, but hopefully you looked at that on a digital computer, you know, where you could see what was going on there. And they took that photo because they were impressed with what they saw that Saturday night. I wonder if you looked at that photo. That's not Saturn. That's our moon. You know, we're not, that's a light. And what you're seeing is you're seeing ablation of light because of tobacco smoke. Now, I wonder, where does that smoke go? Well, it doesn't just sit in the air, it does go somewhere. And usually the prevailing winds will determine where that is. If you read the memo that I drafted, 41,000 from secondhand smoke, deaths just from secondhand smoke. And the effects of it outdoors have been studied, contrary to what some people might say. It can be measured. And what I would ask the city council to do, or the city itself, is what the health department suggested to me, and that is assure us that we're not at risk with this, with the situation with, we know it's not 1959 anymore. We know what tobacco smoke does. How could you do that? Perhaps you could monitor it. I think that there's a particulate matter type of, I've seen a tool that they use for measuring particulate matter, toxins and that sort of thing. Doesn't look that expensive when I've seen it, but they encouraged me to ask you to protect us, to look into it. Is it really true that the ventilation system is taking it out of their environment and putting it into our neighborhood? And then where does it go? I would surmise somewhere on the 400 block with the prevailing westerly winds, and those of you that have smelled it know that's what it is and where it's coming from. But you should know what it does to you. And there's abundant literature and research, and maybe I should have spent more time going into that. I think that they were granted the permit to be there, and you know what, I want to apologize to you, because this goes against my grain. You don't mess with somebody's livelihood, and I respect that. So I'm sorry in advance, but that's what I'll talk about. I'll talk about the dangers that could be here because of the smoke situation, because everybody else seems to not enjoy the sound of a booming bass at 1:30 a.m. or a revving motorcycle. And I guess that's about all I have to say. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Mariska? Did I say that right? Oh, good.
Good evening. I am a retired teacher. I taught for 29 years in the Ferguson-Florissant School District. And I just recently, as I said, retired, and now I'm able to stay at home and enjoy my garden, take my dog for long walks, and Gerard will tell you I'm the trash picker-upper. I go with my dog and we pick up litter in the neighborhood. However, that is changing. I have a lot of issues with the cigar bar. The first is the noise. And I read the planning and zoning notes, and it had advised that a noise abatement study should be conducted by an acoustic engineer. I went to the file, and Karen Goodwin was really helpful. Here's the file. What do you need? It'll be online. Gave all the information we needed. And I did not see a noise abatement study, which was recommended. Did the study occur? If it did, where are the results? Also, the city attorney stated in one of the papers that he thought a fabric enclosure would indeed inhibit noise, and indeed inhibit noise was a direct quote from those notes. I thought that that was an opinion because it seems counterintuitive, and you put more people out there, and I'm not convinced that fabric could abate noise. Not at the kind of level that we hear every weekend and every 7 days a week. The second problem is the tobacco smoke. I can smell the smoke in my house if I open my windows. I can smell it on my porch. I can smell it on my patio. I can smell it when I'm working in my garden. And I can smell it when I'm walking my dog 2 or 3 times a day, and when I take walks with my grandchildren. We have to avoid St. Francois. I don't want my grandchildren smelling that smoke and breathing in that particular matter, which is in the air. And you know what? I live 2 blocks away, and I can hear the noise, and I can smell the smoke from 2 blocks away. That's pretty incredible to me. I think they have a ventilation system, but it seems like all it does is take the smoke out of the building and throw it up in the air, and the wind pushes it to our neighborhood. That's what it seems like it's doing. So I'm not quite sure that's a real effective system. Lastly, I have observed, and I've reported it to my councilman, and he's been very receptive to talking with me about it, that the proprietors have also allowed their rear parking lot to be used as a mobile barber shop, a commercial barbecue business, and a food truck operation. All of this served to increase the volume of noise and smoke. Huge barbecue pits, barbecuing their little hearts out, but it adds to the smoke and the noise. The city attorney stated that the noise ordinance violations must be cited by the police. I don't live that close, however, I have called on a few occasions because I only call really if it's unhappy noise or if it sounds like angry noise. If it sounds like people are kind of just having fun, I try not to call. But on the times that I have a call, the dispatcher directly reported to me that, oh, somebody already called. And I said, well, then I want to make this known that I'm calling again. And she said, well, we sent somebody over there and they didn't hear anything. I said, well, where'd they go? And she said, oh, they drove by the front of the building. And I said, well, that's not where the noise is. The noise is in the back parking lot. That is where the noise is. That is the part of the building that abuts up to our neighborhood. But I didn't find that police dispatcher to be very helpful. So I'm asking that the City Council please reconsider this. And I did do some research on noise, the effect of noise pollution. And it is a real thing because it's part of the Clean Air Act. They added it in 1990 as an amendment to address noise problems. And the noise abatement system that they're proposing, I'm not sure is going to work. But we don't have any studies to conclude, to disprove that or to agree with that. So what we have is a lot of information and a lot of complaints and a lot of unhappy residents, and no, I don't see a solution. And I have gone up and spoke with one of the owners, I'm not sure which one, right when it opened because I was trying to see what was going on and introduce myself because I hadn't met him. And, you know, as he could be a very nice person, probably is a very nice person, but he's not being a good neighbor. And the one thing he said was, oh, I'm going to be a good neighbor. Well, it's not a good neighbor to make noise, have noise till 1:30 at night, 5 days a week. I retired, I still am substitute teaching. I work. I got to get up at 6:30, get ready, go to school, work with kids all day, come home. So my sleep, when it's disrupted, it's not healthy. It's a real serious health factor. And if you look at the APA report, it has a whole thing on noise pollution. So I appreciate your time. And as I said, you have to figure out a solution that works for the citizens because that's who you're here for. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Kish.
Hi, I'm Adam Kish. I'm the general manager of Amori Pizza, and we're right across the street from Smoke and Sip. A lot of their customers tend to eat food from us, and it brings in a lot of business to our establishment. Now, that brings in a lot of tax revenue for the city, and granted, there is a lot of noise pollution. We should just continue to work with them to try to figure out some answers and move forward, because we don't want to lose any businesses or we don't want anybody to be unhappy either. So we should continue to try to find a plan to solve the issues in which we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ev. Mr. Hinkie.
Yes, I want to thank all the residents for speaking and in public what I've heard from many of you. At this point in time, I'm going to talk with Mr. Hessel here, right out here, how to move forward. I want to continue this public hearing to try to get some kind of a definitive answer on this noise. We've heard it repeatedly this evening that I think, Tony, that your heart's in the right place, but nothing's happening. You know, we're going to fix this, we're going to fix this, we're going to fix this. I'm going to use this public hearing and try to continue this, that we can, and find out if we can get a definitive, enforceable answer to the noise problem we had. I think you understand how real this problem is from listening to the neighbors here. Is that proper, John?
It is, but if I may,
Yes.
I think the first thing that would need to be done is to ask if there's anyone else in the audience that would like to speak.
We still have some council people still have some remarks.
And then I'd like
too.
to correct some of the things that were
Be the
said.
last thing we do, Mr. Hinkie.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Jones. Mr. Parson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tony, you know, we've talked before. I think a lot of the things that have been said tonight, you definitely need to take to heart as what some of the neighbors have been stating. In terms of the noise, if I know a police officer from the city of Florissant is not something that would be able to be done to divert resources to do that. I would just like to know if you guys would consider maybe having your own security officer out there just to make sure that no one's out there, blaring their music or having arguments or something like that, something that can keep the noise on the parking lot down. Additionally, in terms of the fabric, I have no idea if this would work with the fabric. So if you could come back, I know Gerard is going to make a motion that we continue the hearing, but if you could come back with some substantial numbers to show how the fabric could abate some of the noise, and that would be helpful to me in terms of making any decision. But I definitely don't want to see anybody go out of business, and I don't want to see any of the residents unhappy either. We have to be able to coexist with this issue, and I do think we can find some middle ground here. But I don't want people to be unhappy in their lives, because I wouldn't want to live that way also, sir. And also, if I had a business, I wouldn't. And you've put all your work and time and money into this. You want to see that business succeed too. So I understand where we are in this situation.
To address the issue about the officer, we would pay for the officer being on premises. We would take up that cost of that officer's, whatever it costs to have him there for the hours we're open. And just to correct one thing about our hours, we close from Monday through Thursday, we close at 11 o'clock. And we do shut down at 11. So anything heard after that, it was not us.
Okay. Well, if you can make sure that no one is on your parking lot after you close, and then I also heard something about...
During the weekday, there's nobody on that parking lot. On the weekend, we have to address that. The weekdays, no, it's not. But that's why we want an officer there, because we'll pay for the officer, we'll pay for it to have that person there during those times.
Okay. It'd probably still be best to have your own private security to do that part instead of a Florissant officer. But in any case, the other thing that was mentioned, I think they were stating that they heard trash and stuff that's being thrown away after hours. I mean, if that could be resolved where you guys do it the next morning instead of doing it at that night, then maybe that would help part of it too. Like you said, that's an easy fix. So if that could be adjusted, that may help also. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. Ms. Pagano.
Yes, hi, Tony. I just have a question, and this may be directed more to you, as comparison of the material that you're using. I know Cyberg's has, it looks like something about the weather, and that's, I'm looking at this cover as far as for all the rain we've had, the cold, to keep people in. What are you going to do when it gets 90 degrees?
We can cover the front part of it, because that's what the noise that faces the neighbors.
Anthony, microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. The plan was, because the neighbors are directly behind us, and the noise is going that way, so we can let those down. And then at the same time, we can leave the one side that's facing the medical building that's next to us, we can leave that one open. And what we did last year is, because it was pretty warm out there, we put fans on the patio to keep cooling off.
But my thing, with that enclosure, and even if they're halfway and one's down, when these temperatures in St. Louis hit that and humidity and things, I don't see people sitting out there. I see them sweltering. And I mean, that's mine. So I'm sort of wondering, are we really doing this for noise control? Or are we doing this for weather-related reasons? That's just, I'm asking.
No, it was for the noise.
Just for that.
It's a combination of both, but really it's for the noise. We got to have a top over the top to keep the weather out, and that'll help control the noise. The sides, that will be an issue, as you said, if it gets 90 degrees outside, because if you enclose that thing at 90 degrees outside, it'll be very, very hot in there, even with the fans going around. It could be very hot in there. So trust me, if it's 90 degrees outside and that thing enclosed, there wouldn't be nobody out there. It'd be too hot.
So, just for the conference, if you want to see like what one actually looks like, Cyber's would be the place to look at it. But that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pagano. Mr. Egan.
Thank you. Tony, moving forward, regardless of whether this gets approved by council or not, I hope that you take into account what you've heard this evening, and that there's some things like Mr. Parson just indicated. We had a tavern in Ward 4, I believe, that agreed to empty their trash the next morning. That made a huge difference. Little things like that signage on the patio, asking your patrons to be respectful of your neighbors. Self-monitoring, especially the motorcycles and the individuals who either already left your place and are hanging out on the parking lot or the streets, or who haven't quite made it in yet. And they're your customers. When they're your customers, even if they're on the street, you bear responsibility. You brought them to our community. So let's hope we can move forward. And I'm, again, real interested in getting some data. I'd love to have some noise data to see if this is going to help the problem or if this is going to create or exasperate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Egan.
Thank you.
Mr. Siam.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a question about something one resident said earlier. Is it true that you allow mobile barber shops and food trucks on your property?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay, so that has changed. That was one question that I had for you.
When we first opened up, that has been shut down for months.
Okay, so that doesn't happen anymore. And my second question is, how does the ventilation system, I probably should know this from your public hearing in the past, but how does the ventilation system work? Does it pull the smoke from inside the interior of your building and just push it out into the atmosphere or vent it out in the atmosphere?
Before it goes out of the building.
It filters it first? Okay, because there are complaints about the smoke getting into people's houses and things like that, so I was wondering if you had any ideas about what could be done about that as well, in addition to the noise.
Well, I'll definitely look at that, because it goes through a filtering system.
Anthony, microphone.
Oh, I said I'll take a look at that, because it does go through a filtering system before it leaves the building.
Okay, and then maybe there's a way to measure that, like how much of it gets through the filtering system and goes out to the neighborhoods and things like that. So, well, thank you. That's all I had.
Mr. Harris?
Thank you. I had two questions, and one was follow-up on Mr. Siam's question about ventilation. Was it working as intended? Sounds like you're going to follow up on that. But when you did the research on the ventilation systems, were there other options or other avenues maybe of ventilating, increasing the capacity of ventilation, different types of filters or systems to do that? So it sounds like you're going to look into that. But I'm just wondering, is there a way to adjust that would make a big difference? Sometimes a little bit of something can make a big difference. And then also my second question is about the hours of business. Have you considered or have you changed the hours of business to address any of this?
No, our hours have been the same since we opened, from Monday through Thursday from 11 to 11. Friday and Saturdays we open from 11 to 1, and then Sunday from 11 to midnight.
Okay. Would you be willing to adjust your hours at all if that made a difference?
I'm willing to sit down with the neighbors and discuss that if they're willing to sit down with me and discuss some avenues that'll make them better. Because I mean, hey, as we stated when we came to the city council way back ago, we want to be good corporate citizens. We want to be a part of the neighborhood, which we have not been adversarial with anybody in the neighborhood anywhere. We listen to anybody who has any complaints or anything at any time.
Yeah, these are definitely unintended, effects. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Is there anyone in the audience else that would like to speak on this? Yes, come forward, please.
Hi, Tony. I'm good. I have a suggestion for you because I travel a lot and cigar rooms are kind of getting more popular. But what I've seen it's an actual room inside of the building where cigar patrons can go, so that smoke would be enclosed then. But I mean, I got to tell you, as a common thing, smokers in Missouri are not exactly very aware of how their smoke travels. And I mean, at the Florissant Park, when I go in the summer, I quit going because there are so many people smoking and I have asthma, so I can't do that. But I just want to give you something positive. Maybe that would help you, you know, as far as your business. And then also, I mean, is it possible to have no smoking outside of your business? So that, because, I mean, I'm sure people come out and they're smoking outside, and that's probably some of what's traveling to the neighbors. Just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Just two
State your name,
clarification
please, for the
points.
record.
Nancy Funk. Just two clarification points. I'd like the council members to look into the validity of the actual hours that are being stated here tonight. I disagree with the actual hours that are stated tonight. So clarify that. I think most times it's open till 1:30. There are some nights it's open maybe till 11:30. I want clarification on that. I also want the members of the council to look at certain days of the week to have it much reduced, the hours of operation. And the hours of operation too, this is still a residential area that backs up to it. So either city planning and zoning looks at a wall, even a fence that would completely go the length of that, needs to be looked at, which I still don't think will address the noise abatement issue. And another thing is to have each night having 100+ cars, it seems, behind a resident, or behind and right behind your home is an issue. So I don't know how, again, there's a lot of things. So the reality, what we've seen tonight is we've had a lot of residents speak tonight. We've had a lot of issues raised. We've had a lot of things addressed related to the fabric and everything else of that nature. But what we have to still address is the issue of being a good neighbor, being a good neighbor in the residential area. So Cybergs aside, we still have no engineering SMEs in the room. But Cybergs aside, Cybergs is never in a residential area. And any of the businesses, whether it be Hendel's, Bunkers, VFW, Amore, Pizza, Peroni's Pizza, whatever, you have to realize when you open an establishment for economic and lucrative means to have your livelihood, you also have to realize you're in a residential area, and residents need to be able to sleep with their families. So noise abatement, the issue of secondhand smoke, the issue of odor and all that. For me tonight leaving here, we're no closer. And the reality is there needs to either be something that's going to put pressure, because what I feel, we'll be talking about this a year from now, and the residents will be a year from now talking about the same issues. Because for me, I still, when I leave here tonight, my windows in the back part of my house won't be open. I will not have things in my backyard enjoying my patio. And I also wanted to address one more thing that I failed to mention. It's better now. But I want to see, I don't want to hear the little stogies or the little cigar butts or beer cans or trash or anything. I don't want to see that anymore. And I really want an issue to stop this. And I think it's going to have to be a collective, joint effort, because I still don't feel that we will have anyone really trying to make this workable for everyone involved. Again, we need economic development in a city. But I also think, and I disagree, and unfortunately it's unfortunate that this type of establishment is in a residential area. For me, this type of establishment, because of the noise issue and because of the, in my opinion, pollution issue, is not in a good area to do such a business. So thank you again.
I'm Rob Hoffman, 306 St. Louis Street, and I'll be brief. Because nobody's touched on this, but we're 40 years since Cipollone and Leggett, and you probably know what that is. I went by the sign, on my way up here. There's a guy standing there with a drink in one hand and a cigarette in another hand. And the kids walk down that street and go to school. What I'm getting at is just because something is illegal doesn't make it proper, moral, acceptable. No one's brought this up, so I'm bringing it up. I don't think there's anything good or anything that's good that's come from anybody smoking tobacco or partaking of tobacco in any way, shape, or form. It's never done anything for anybody except maybe makes a few people some money. We teach our children not to do it. So we regard it as a moral issue, and we do hire you guys to do this. I mean, we're on a slippery slope with letting you determine what's good, proper, right, and moral for our neighborhoods. And people that know me know I'm no moral entrepreneur. But when I came here 25 years ago, there was a sense in this community that we wanted to protect some things in terms of values and morality. You can't legislate that, but to a point. You know, how did this come into being here? You know, what was the initial model here, whether we could have a business that comes in and has not one but two very dangerous addictive substances as their business model? I think what I'm saying is pretty self-evident, so I'm done. Thank you.
And I just want to clarify something. There was a barbecue or a food truck parked behind the building during Valley of Flowers on the Saturday of Valley of Flowers. And I don't know how late that was there. I took a picture of it with my camera. So there has been additional food trucks with a huge barbecue pit parked in the back. The other thing was that I'm kind of confused because somebody had recommended, a staff person had recommended that a noise abatement study ought to be conducted by an acoustic engineer. And it was in your notes for either planning and zoning or city council, I can't remember which. So I'm assuming that they're assuming that that's the city's responsibility. I'm not sure about that. The other thing was, I'm confused about, was that it was mentioned that if an establishment consistently is in violation of city and St. Louis County noise ordinances, they must be cited by the police. And then after a period of time, if the noise continues, they can file an injunction. That was in the notes. To stop that from happening. So I don't know if that's the next solution or what could be done next. But I just wanted to clarify those two things. Plus, here's one other thing. The patio is zoned for 28 people, correct? That was in the notes. And I counted 36 chairs on the patio the other morning when I was walking, because you can walk there in the morning because there's nobody out there smoking. But so there were 36 seats all lined, around the rim and in the center. So that's way above 28 places to sit for people. Thank you.
Mr. Hinkie.
Yes, Mr. Hessel, I defer. I think you had something that you wanted to say to...
Yeah, if you don't mind, I just heard another comment that there's some notes that the city attorney made some comments. I don't know where those notes are. I don't know where those notes came from, because what she's suggesting is just simply wrong. And I have not been involved at the planning and zoning level concerning this matter. So let's be clear. The city attorney has never said that a nuisance violation must be initiated by a police officer. In fact, I've said to the contrary. You cannot disturb the peace of a police officer. So, unfortunately, it's incumbent upon the residents to sign nuisance complaints, which leads to the next point, which there was some suggestion that the presence of a police officer or perhaps some security officer will help. That's really not going to be of much assistance, at least as far as I know, in addressing the noise problem for exactly the same circumstances. That is, that the police officer will not be in a position to control the noise other than to say, raise the volume, just as we would with any of our neighbors. And if the neighbor is unhappy, then the neighbor has to initiate the issuance of a summons, and then we go to municipal court. We all know that that is a process. So I appreciate the suggestion that the presence of a police officer or some kind of security officer might help, I won't say alleviate, but minimize some of the impact. Somebody is going to have to explain how that's going to occur to me before I can make a recommendation on that issue. I thought I also heard a similar comment where the city attorney said that the fabric will address noise. I'm not an audiologist. I'm just a lawyer. I have no idea if that will work. I have been involved in cases and worked with audiologists that can address that kind of an issue. That is so beyond my area of expertise that I can't imagine that anyone would ascribe that kind of a comment to me, because that's not what I do. I heard several suggestions about addressing the noise. One is whether or not this fabric will help or hurt. I have no idea whether or not a fence could be erected. And I certainly have been involved in cases where there has been requirements to build soundproof barriers. And again, it's out of my area of expertise. I don't even know what the materials were that wall was made out of. But I guess what I'm suggesting is that between now and whatever you continue this meeting to, that an audiologist, those are professional, there's plenty of them out there, be hired by the applicant to address how this fabric will either help or hurt with the noise situation. And they can similarly address, audiologists can address the impact of the bass that we heard that residents are hearing. Audiologists can address those kinds of things. They have to do studies, and they are very sophisticated studies. So my suggestion is that the applicant consider hiring an audiologist, or the city council imposes that obligation for them, or alternatively, and I've certainly been involved in situations where the city has gone out and hired its own audiologist. Typically that would only occur after the applicant has submitted an audiology report, so then you hire a second audiologist to compare, because let's be honest, experts are going to try to provide their clients with the results that they would like. So I've certainly been involved in situations where the city has gone out and hired a separate audiologist, but I don't think we're there yet. I think we'd have to get a report first before we go there. And lastly, I heard, and this is just my observations, that the smoke and the ventilation system, and I think, Mr. Harris, you raised the question as to whether or not we should require some information on the performance of the filtration within that ventilation system so that the city council can understand whether or not that is working properly. And assuming that it is, whether or not regulations can be imposed that limit smoking to an area that has a properly performing ventilation system that will address the smoke problem. Those are the three things that I heard. There may be, of course, I also heard about business hours. That's an issue that I'll leave to this body to decide. We certainly, and I'm just throwing this out as additional comments, we certainly have restricted to prohibited the playing of music at various establishments. Again, that is something that the city council can consider. Those are all the comments that I can make from the notes that I have gathered.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hessel.
May I say one other thing to address something Mr. Hessel just said?
State your name, please.
This is Rob Hoffman, 306 St. Louis Street. This was on staff recommendations, and Section 6 of staff recommendations. And This would be staff analysis, section 4, and I'll just quote this. It could be incorrect, but this is a matter of the record. It said the city attorney, that would be you, right?
Should be.
The city attorney agreed that a fabric structure would indeed inhibit noise generating from the patio. I'm just
All
quoting.
I can tell you, Mr. Hoffman, is I don't know who wrote that, if the staff wrote that. I will
repeat. I'm bringing it more to your attention than anything, and I'll take your word. I'll take what you say is the fact, not what it says here.
Staff must be confused on that issue. It's not my area.
Mr. Hinkie.
Yeah, one final comment, and then I want to make a motion. Mr. Hessel, you're going to have to help me with this motion possibly. Shame on me. I'll say no further than this. This was sold, I could be a little naive at times. This was sold to us at this council as a soft jazz, classic, It hasn't turned out to be what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be quiet, nice cigars. Well, it hasn't turned out to be that. So although I wanted to clarify that, I'll take the blame. Shame on me for maybe misrepresenting or misinterpreting what I thought it was going to be. At this time, I would like to continue this public hearing until such time as we get the reports, possibly from the audiologist. And I want to, John, perhaps you can help me. I want to get some verifiable, enforceable rules on the noise. Because one common theme that I've heard from most everyone that's spoken this evening is that we keep hearing that things are going to be done and nothing is happening. I'm going to use this public hearing and the continuation of this public hearing to try to put some teeth into this, that we are going to fix this problem. We are going to fix this problem. So I want to continue that until such time as this public hearing, until such time as we get an agreeable, some kind of an agreement between your establishment and the city of how we're going to enforce this noise regulations, up to including possible reduction of hours. I don't even know where to go from there, but we are going to fix this. I mean, it has to be. You heard from the people. These are my neighbors. I live right here too, okay? So I want to move to continue this public hearing.
To what date?
To a date certain?
28th is the next.
Is 28th the next? Is that enough time?
That's our next council meeting.
2 weeks? We'll continue this to the 28th then for now?
Could I ask for, because I heard you like us to go out and get some...
The microphone, please, Anthony.
I'm sorry. You asked us to go out and get some expert readings and this and that.
Right.
And 2 weeks is not enough time.
Okay.
So I would like to say, maybe take us to the
next one.
The next.
That was my thought too. That was my
Right.
thought too, but they said, so the following...
June 10th?
June 10th?
Yes.
And, Jackie, you seconded it? The motion? Okay.
There's a motion on the floor to continue the public hearing until June 10th meeting, second by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Tony, and like I said, let's get this fixed.
Okay.
All right? Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is bills for a second reading, which come under old business. Bill number 9479. Councilman Shuldroff moves for a second reading, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance appropriating $80,000 from Park Improvement Fund to account number 509615560, Capital Additions, Coke, for the demolition of the Coke Aquatic Center.
Councilman Jones moves for a third reading, second by myself. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance appropriating $80,000 from the Park Improvement Fund to account number 509615560, Capital Additions, Coke, for the demolition of the Coke Aquatic Center.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this bill? Seeing none, clerk, please poll the council.
Jones? Yes. Egan? Yes. Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth?
Yes.
Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano?
Yes.
Parson? Yes. Cyan? Harris?
Bill number 9479 passes and becomes ordinance 8505. Bill number 9482. Councilman Hinkie moves for a second reading. Second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Mr. Harris.
Well, I just want to have a discussion, but we can do that. Are we going to a third? Okay.
Now is the discussion.
Now, okay.
Now is the discussion time.
Do the petitioners have a chance to come and talk? Do they need to?
Wait, sir, hold on, sir. Hold on, sir. Come up to the
You need to suspend the rules.
You suspend the rules.
Yes. Motion to suspend the rules.
There's
Good
a motion on the
good
table to
evening,
suspend the-
everyone.
Hold on,
Oh,
ma'am.
I'm
There's a
sorry.
motion on the table to suspend the rules. Second by Mr. Shuldroff. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? One no.
Did we got it?
Mr.
Good eve-
Harris.
I'd like to hear from the petitioners, and I have some things
Good
to
evening, everyone. My name is LaShonda Mays Borkins, 620 North Highway 67.
Clarence Boykins, 620 Highway 67.
You okay?
Good evening, Council. We just came back, well, we wanted to kind of get some type of clarity from the last meeting because we had questions and we really don't feel like...
Sir, our public hearing was, your public hearing was over. We closed that last week when you had a chance to speak on this subject.
So we can't speak now?
I would like to hear what they have to say.
Okay. Well, reason being that we wanted to speak again, and I mean by clarity, because the last time that we were here, we did some comparisons with dialysis centers. And like one of the council members said, it kind of went down the weeds. Now, we want to get clarity on those comparisons, because when we say comparisons, we know that dialysis centers and adult daycare centers and doctor's office are completely different businesses. But what is exactly the same is the way that they transport their participants or clients, and that's in the shopping centers. So we did want to display some information that we brought last time that we really didn't get a chance to, because we displayed a few pictures, but it seemed like it just went past, like no one really paid attention. Don't want to say no one paid attention, but it didn't paint a big enough picture of the concern that we have with the pictures.
Sir, we already, them pictures, we all seen them pictures. We all took everything in consideration with your pictures during the public hearing. The public hearing is closed.
I do want to
So
speak.
what you're proposing is the same that you had the last council meeting during the public hearing, correct?
No,
No.
not correct.
But the public hearing is already over.
But now, when you say discussion, that gives us the floor to discuss and present the information that we want to present during the discussion. Is that correct?
So that means that you're coming and having another public hearing, correct?
No, I'm having a discussion on information that we brought to display during our discussion, if that's possible. So if it's an open discussion when you ask, are we allowed to discuss or are we not?
I don't understand.
And we
Mr.
just-
Hessel?
Mr. Hessel, would you
Yes,
clarify?
I'm just thinking if this is discussion, Councilman Harris opened it up for discussion. I'm waiting for Councilman Harris to ask a question and not have a public hearing.
For you. That's what we're
Right,
coming
I thought that's what
Do
we
you,
were
my
discussing.
question would be, do you have any additional information to share since the hearing?
And we do have additional information we wanted to share.
Is it on point, or is this just going back to the public hearing? That's what I'm asking. If there was a direct question asked about this, it would be one thing. I don't have any more direct questions. I'm asking if Councilman Harris has a direct question to ask so that we can discuss the problem that we're having.
Well, there was some confusion about safety, and I think the petitioners were looking for clarity on that. So I wanted to see if they had additional points related to safety, which in my mind really is not completely established, whether there is or isn't a safety issue. So I'm wanting mostly to hear about any more information on that. Also, at the hearing, I asked them about outcomes, about what are the health outcomes for seniors or disabled persons with disability. So I did some research, but I would like to hear what they have to say about that.
Now, I missed the last question, Mr. Harris. I'm sorry.
You know, like how does this? I think you did it at the last one. We talked about. I asked about outcomes. You know, what are the outcomes of participants who receive these kinds of services?
Okay.
But back to what I really want to hear about is the clarity on the safety issue, if there's any more information on that.
And yes, it is, because all of the public hearings that we've seen in the past, the biggest thing with adult daycares were the safety issues or the safety concerns. Now, the reason I do want to display pictures, because right now we should be able to if it's a discussion, because it's additional information as far as the safety concern. Now, that's why I wanted to clarify when we said the difference between adult daycares and dialysis, because we did discuss last time that DaVita is in Cross Keys, and they were established less than 2 years ago. Now, I understand that they are a Fortune 500 company, but they still allowed to operate in a shopping center without the same concerns that we have for safety.
That was not, dialysis was not brought off for a special use permit, Mr. Boykins. The DaVita did not come in front of us for a special use permit. That was already, we did not need a special use permit for DaVita. They did not come in front of us for a special use permit.
Well, what I am going to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and show, because even if it wasn't a special use permit, there were safety concerns. And I heard Mr. Egan ask the question directly to someone applying for a special use permit about an adult daycare, and the question was about the fire lane, because the fire lane is always questioned in the public hearings of why we're here. Now, even though they didn't have to apply for the special use permit, they were allowed to operate in the shopping center. Now, I do want to show the picture again because it is additional information, because if it is illegal...
Mr. Hinkey, there's a point of order, sir.
The point of order that I bring forth, this public hearing was had. We discussed this. And Mr. Councilman Harris, to the results or the benefits of this, that was never in the question. It was brought out to the public.
Well, Mr. Hinkey, you did cut me off in the middle of the statement.
One at a time.
I brought forth a point of order, and a point of order is precedent here, okay? Mr. Harris, at the time, at this public hearing, we discussed that. The issue of the benefits of this never came into play. Never came into play, the benefits. So we can we are not going to rehash that at this meeting.
What I referenced was outcomes. I asked for information at the hearing. I asked them to bring back information, just like we asked previous petitioners.
But the public hearing was closed. At that time, it was not continued.
Well, I will say that based on what y'all presented and based on what the research that I have looked at, I don't know that there's any evidence of safety concern any more than any other business, which I think is the point that they were trying to make, especially when it comes to transitions into and out of businesses. And I expressed my support, but I really didn't say at the last meeting, I really didn't express the reasons for that support. And it has to do more with more than just safety, really. I mean, and I did send some information as to the council, and I'll just read through that briefly. I wanted to add reason, like I said, about the hearing that we had. That means the main stated objection of those whom opposed were for the drop-off and pickup safety of participants, and it was argued that their transitions hold a greater risk if located in shopping centers of this type. Couldn't find examples to confirm that, but I do believe, based on the presentation of these petitioners on April 22nd, that the petitioners have adequately considered that. The architect was also here and spoke to that, and the property manager also said that adjustments would be made, and there would be drop-off and pickup in the rear of the building with ramps there. So there's a real motivation, I think, by the property manager to address that, also to have this business there. So I think under usual conditions, I think it would be safe. I think it also stands potential to substantially benefit our local community in certain ways, very specific ways, and I want to speak to that. We've already established that there's a growing population nationwide and in Florissant. We have vast senior services in Florissant. We really invest in that. So I think naturally that this would be something that I would support for that reason as well. Also, aging individuals and people with disabilities need intensive supervision, and we have those people in our city. Support and resources are often primarily cared for by family members. It places a high level of burden and stress. We talked about that. Here's something I wanted to address, though. I came across a statistic that estimated that 33% of all the Florissant Valley Fire Protection District calls typically fall between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on weekdays. And the inference there was that there was likely a strong correlation to elderly dependent individuals calling in need of assistance during these hours, while natural supports are more unavailable at work or wherever they are during the day. I suspect that probably the police department might have some similar statistics, although I don't know what those are. Some of the more serious examples of assistance calls might include falls or wandering outside the home. I've seen reports of that where we have someone missing. And I have to think that lack of supervision might be a problem for causing those type of incidents. More minor examples could include inability to navigate the home properly without assistance. If I'm correct, many times calls are repeated responses to the same individuals and locations. So we have probably repeated calls to the same locations. I want to talk more about the isolation and stress of the family members taking care of the people who are trying to remain more independent, remain in their own homes under family care. As a single caregiver, will be responsible for providing a bulk of support. A good amount of research around the need for adult daycares and home health assistance revolves around the stressful impact on the caregiver over time. In addition to the regular demands of one's life, providing intensive 24 hours a day support is sometimes associated with burnout and may lead to elder abuse and neglect. If that person that's dependent doesn't have contact with other people, that adds to the possibility of some issues there. In addition, isolating circumstances themselves create increased opportunity for unhealthy dependence on one or two family members or hired home health workers. I know you all do home health, so you probably know more than me, but some of the research I looked at said that sometimes you'll get a home health worker, and I don't think this is necessarily happening all the time, but I think there's an increased possibility of some unhealthy dependence there, and for lack of a better word, those people, elderly, disabled, are more prone to get scammed, so that does happen. And that's why I think insurance companies sometimes would prefer this model, possibly, is what I was reading. So being in an atmosphere or in a respite or in a daycare provides more accountability, is what I'm trying to say. So it provides a service to the families that are taking care of their dependents, whether they be elderly or disabled, and also decreases the risk of neglect or situations where our elderly might fall prey. There's actually, I think, local government budget savings in this, given some of the issues presented around the risks to safety and potential dangers associated with what I talked about with the wandering, with the calls, the police department, the fire department. Naturally, that's going to affect our budget too. So if we have more calls, if we have our responders, first responders going to these places repeatedly, if that's their job, they do it awesome. They're awesome at it. But does that take away from, from the resources? Do we have to expend more resources in that way? There was some concern, I heard talk about the possible cost to taxpayers. I think Medicaid pays for, there's some Medicaid billing that goes in this. Waiver, I think, is waiver. Yeah, okay, so there's that. I saw a Forbes magazine article, April 25th, 2019, where not only is Medicaid covering this, but also Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield is starting coverage. And the reason for that coverage is because that it's a fact for probably a couple decades that they've known that having these types of services decreases the risk or decreases the speed at which someone will reach a more dependent care, where they would be into a nursing facility, and it would be more full-time and could be 5, 6, 7 times greater the cost to the taxpayers. So I think, any kind of indication that this is somehow, not legitimate, I think it really is. This is a legitimate service, and this is a needed service in our community. And then one of my biggest things about this is I'm pretty new on the council, but one thing that I've heard other people say is we need economic growth. Okay, now I'm not saying this is it right here. Okay, let's get all these, but I think it's an indication. I've heard people say that Florissant is not welcoming. I heard somebody say it tonight. I don't know. I mean, I think we are. Everybody's friend. We're doing the best we can, okay? But I think strategically, I think we got to start thinking out of the box. And I think if we had this property manager come in last hearing and on behalf of these individuals from out of town, I believe, and requested that we approve this. And I think from looking at property management, ability to build out other places, to have other businesses come in, that takes money, takes a budget. So I think the property manager, they need tenants, so.
There's 8 empty units in the Florissant.
Okay. And I mean, this is what we have before us. So I think the other thing is that, I think you all said this too, that there's other businesses there, and the participants, the family members, the people that come in, that give this traffic, which is also what you need in plazas, are going to be customers of those local places. What's there now and what's there in the future. Catering, you're going to provide meals. I think that's billable as well. So now all of a sudden you have billable meals or catering that is going to stimulate our local economy there too with restaurants. So I think there's economic impact to this. If we have local places, if we don't have enough of these services with a growing population, and there are services, I know there's one in Bridgeton, I just saw it, it's down by Hobby Lobby down there, really nice. There's one in Maryland Heights, just saw it. So I think we have examples. Someone last time said the Baldwin, award-winning place, okay? I'm concerned about our ability to serve our citizens in this way. If they have traveled further, maybe they move closer to where they have to go. I don't know. Population retention. So these are all big picture questions that I'm looking at. Last meeting we had a number of individuals that stood up and supported y'all. Didn't plan on it. They heard what, and they supported it. We did have a couple that had questions or whatever, but by and large, I haven't had calls about this. People telling me, no, we don't want it. I haven't had that. I haven't seen it. Haven't seen it on social media, haven't seen anything about that. So, you know, in summary, given the known potential benefits of adult daycare services to the community, some of which I didn't even mention, and the lack of real evidence that an adult daycare will do any more harm to individuals than already exist for visitors to other businesses, and the small amount of good it will do to assisting development, taking into consideration the property manager even spoke on behalf of allowing it, I urge us to approve this special permit for unique Loving Hands Adult Daycare. So I supported it, and I just wanted to add reason to it. So thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Parson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to, I want to thank Andrew for at least providing some information in his email with his letter. As I stated last time when you guys were here, I do believe that with our aging population, businesses like this are a need. Now, whether or not it's something that is something that the city of Florissant would like, you know, I only have one vote in dealing with this. However, what I do have an issue with is, you know, the safety concerns. When we talk about safety concerns, I want to have some justification behind it. If there's a particular safety concern, I need to see some past incidents of where this has happened in the city of Florissant, in a strip mall where someone has gotten injured. Additionally, if it's not something that's happened in Florissant, maybe any surrounding cities, surrounding states, those types of things before I would, you know, just definitely say no to something like this. I would have to see some other instances where it would justify a safety issue with these types of daycares being in a strip mall. Additionally, they brought up the issue with the dialysis centers, and you know there is some difference between a dialysis center and an adult daycare, but honestly I think it's a distinction without a true difference in terms of how these businesses are run and the people that they serve. So if it's something that can bring economic development to the city of Florissant, and you guys are totally in compliance with all of the state rules and regulations, you know, I'm open to something like this being in Florissant. I'm not generally opposed to it, but you know, it has to be you guys need to meet every requirement that the state needs before I would say yes to it, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. Thank you, Ms. Parson. Mr. Egan.
Thank you. I did, in fact, bring up a safety issue. And regarding the dialysis center, first of all, that is in my ward. That did not come in front of this council. Had it come in front of this council, I would have vetoed it. Make no bones about it, number one. Number two, I've received 4 emails and a phone call from my constituents. All agreed with me. They don't like these in these shopping centers. I am not against adult daycares. I think they're needed, and I think they're wonderful. I am not for adult daycares in shopping centers. My father, in the waning days of his life, was taken care of by me and my brothers and sisters. My father-in-law, the last year of his life, was incapacitated and relied upon my wife and I for nearly all of his care. I would have loved to have the opportunity to take him to a day center. We didn't have it, but not in a shopping center. I will give you 2 examples in Ward number 1 where you can go put one up right now, which I would support. On the St. Sabina property, there is an abandoned kindergarten. It has a fenced-in area, has side parking, limited access and limited egress. That'd be a fabulous place that I would absolutely support for an adult daycare. The United States Post Office at Carr Station is for sale. It has a huge facility. That would be a perfect place for a mega center. But I am not for daycares and adult daycares in shopping centers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. You want to say something? Mr. Harris.
Thank you. I just want to address, because I know a lot of council have said that they will support adult daycares, but not in plazas, not in shopping centers. They don't believe that that's where it's supposed to be. And, the house in front of Sabina, I question whether that would be adaptable for, I don't know the square footage of it. The layout, I imagine it's like a house. Seen it a lot. I can't imagine it's the same flat kind of area, open area that could be modified. I don't know. But I know that the petitioners, you said you looked around, couldn't find something that was suitable. I don't know if it's a cost issue. I mean, unless you're going to build from ground up. But a lot of times, with human services types of businesses or nonprofits, you don't have the type of capital unless you have, maybe if you're in an affluent area and you have, investors or something like that. But, I still think we have the issue of the need of this in our area. And I don't think it's honestly feasible that we're going to get somebody coming before us for a standalone type of adult daycare. I just don't think it's going to happen. So just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. All in favor?
Can I speak?
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Hinkie moves for a third reading.
I got to read it.
Sorry, Karen.
Ordinance authorizing a special use permit to Unique Loving Hands Adult Daycare, LLC, DBA Unique Loving Hands Daycare, to allow for the operation of an adult daycare for the property located at 620 North Highway 67.
Councilman Hinkie moves for a third reading, second by myself. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance authorizing a special use permit to Unique Loving Hands Adult Daycare, LLC, DBA Unique Loving Hands Daycare, to allow for the operation of adult daycare for the property located at 620 North Highway 67.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this bill?
Can I speak on the bill? Okay, I would like to speak. Oh, I'm sorry.
Somebody else too.
Robert Smith, 2823 Chapel View. At the last meeting, I did, express that I did have a mother-in-law in one of these facilities. And I stated that, Florissant needs to either approve or disapprove, but they have to do it for all of them. And after listening to Andrew and Robert, it's kind of starting to make a little more sense that if you're not going to approve, come with the data that shows this is not safe, because you've already got one that's over off of Lindbergh, that's in a strip mall, and I've not heard of any incidents, at that particular location. So
another one that we never approved, that never came in front of us, Robert.
Well, there haven't been any. I haven't heard anything that was.
Have you been by
negative.
that adult daycare center?
I have driven by there.
During the day or during whenever?
Yeah, I've seen them coming in and out.
Have you observed what they do to them poor people?
No, I haven't observed. That's not what I do. I'm not.
Ms. Pagano, would you like to speak on this?
I thought I was the one speaking for right now. I'm the one coming from the audience because you asked if we wanted to speak. That's what I wanted to say. I wasn't asking for an example. I'm just telling you what my view is. And my view is it doesn't seem inviting. So you're going to have more people just take their business elsewhere. Sometimes, you do have to look outside the box. Sometimes you've got to say, hey, if there is an example of something happening that is hurting these individuals or the businesses around there, hey, bring it up. Let us look at it. Let us see what it is. But I'm just giving you my opinion on this particular incident, this particular, what they're trying to do. I know the last few you flat out said no. Okay. But this one here, it seems like it's a little more that they've done, a little more research on. So that's just my opinion on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
LaShonda Mays, 620 North Highway 67. I just want to speak because the last hearing when we came, I just felt like a lot of city councilmen came well, they, hold on, let me take the time. I just feel like a lot of the city councilmen, eyes was closed, ears was shut when we walked in. You guys never seen what we presented to you guys, and you never took the time to even look. You had your mind made up already, and I truly feel that way. We took our time one day and went and got petitions signed by people we didn't even know that support adult daycares in the shopping center. You guys say you have people calling. Where are they? We have hundreds of people's signatures that would vouch that it's okay to have adult daycare in the shopping center. They don't feel the safety that you guys feel. I don't feel the safety. Explain to me what's a big deal with adult daycares in the shopping center. Explain that to me. Before you make your decision, let me know so I can tell the 100 people that we got signed, signature, address, City of Florissant, and if we would have did it for a whole week straight, we would have got thousands of signatures. It was just a few hours and we got over 100 signatures, and they felt no safety issues for the shopping centers, for adult daycare. I just want to know, by everyone that's voting no, I need a legitimate reason, because your citizens of Florissant is not calling you. That's bull. They are not calling you, because if they felt that way, then they would be here tonight. They are not here, and it's sad for us to spend all our time and our passion for what we do for people of the councilmen of Florissant to tell us no, and we have to accept that. That's not right. It's not right. And next time somebody else come up in front of you guys, give them a legitimate reason instead of trying to lie on your citizens of Florissant. Have a poll done so you can get the real facts, data. So we won't go off for just calls that you guys say you haven't, and they are not here. Where are they? If they strongly feel that adult daycares are not safe in the shopping centers, they should be here right now, and they are not. Have a poll done, and we can get the true numbers, and I can live with that. But I cannot live with someone giving me their personal opinion on why adult daycare should not be in shopping centers. It's a personal opinion. You can't do that. These people elected you to look out for them, and you guys is not doing a great job. Thank you.
Clerk, please poll the council for the final vote.
Jones? No. Egan? No. Caputa?
No.
Shildroth? No. Hanky? No. Pagano? No. Parson? Yes. Siam? No. Harris? Yes. Motion fails.
Okay, bill number 9482 fails. Bill number 9486, I make a motion that we continue this bill to May 28th. Second by Ms. Pagano. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next item is new business, board appointments. Mr. Siam.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to reappoint Daniel Call of 2055 Valencia to the Board of Adjustment.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mrs. Siam. Mayor?
I wish to appoint Patricia Helfrich, 595 St. Anthony, Ward 5, to the Senior Commission.
Second.
I wish to reappoint Kim Redden of 1365 Hialeah, Ward 6, to the Traffic Commission.
Second.
And I'd like to reappoint Alan Blewett, 4054 High Willow, Ward 8, to the Traffic Commission.
Second.
That's it.
Thank you, Mayor. Next item is request. Councilman Hinkie moves to accept the application for a transfer of special use permit number 4647 from James and Margaret O'Connor doing business as Mother Hen Daycare to Kids in Motions Learning Center located at 696 North Jefferson. Second by myself. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Councilman Egan moves to accept the application for a transfer of special use permit number 8309 from Mango's Grill Fish and Chicken to MA Foods LLC doing business as Pop's Grill Fish and Chicken for the operation of a restaurant located at 8141 North Lindbergh. Second by Mr. Shuldroff. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Bills for a first reading. Bill number 9487.
Ordinance to amend Public Safety Fund, account number 174173110, insurance proceeds in the amount of $15,046 and appropriate the same amount to account number 175176100, capital additions for the replacement of a police vehicle.
I'll move for a third reading, second by Mr. Egan.
Second reading.
Second reading.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Third.
Okay. Move for a second reading, second by Mr. Egan. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All against? Ayes have it.
Ordinance to amend Public Safety Fund, account number 174173110, insurance proceeds in the amount of $15,046 and appropriate the same amount to account number 175176100, capital additions for the replacement of a police vehicle.
Ms. Pagano moves for a third reading, second by Mr. Hinkie. Roll call, please.
Jones? Yes. Egan? Yes. Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth? Yes. Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
Siam? Yes. Harris? Yes. Ordinance to amend Public Safety Fund, account number 174173110, insurance proceeds in the amount of $15,046 and appropriate the same amount to account number 175176100, capital additions for the replacement of the police vehicle.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience like to speak on this bill? Seeing none, clerk, please poll the council.
Jones? Yes. Egan? Yes. Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth? Yes. Hanky? Yes. Pagano? Yes. Parson? Yes. Siam? Yes. Harris? Yes.
Bill number 9487 passes and become ordinance 8506. Bill number 9488.
Ordinance authorizing a transfer of special use permit number 4647 from James and Margaret O'Connor, DBA Mother Hen Daycare, to Kids in Motion Learning Center for the operation of the daycare located at 696 North Jefferson.
Mr. Hinkie moves for a second reading, second by myself. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance authorizing transfer of special use permit number 4647 from James and Margaret O'Connor, DBA Mother Hen Daycare, to Kids in Motion Learning Center for the operation of a daycare located at 696 North Jefferson.
Councilman Hinkie moves for a third reading, second by Mr. Siam. Roll call, please.
Jones? Yes. Egan? Yes. Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth? Yes. Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano? Yes. Parson? Yes. Siam? Yes. Harris? Yes. Ordinance authorizing transfer of special use permit number 4647 from James and Margaret O'Connor, DBA Mother Hen Daycare, to Kids in Motion Learning Center for the operation of a daycare located at 696 North Jefferson.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience like to speak on this bill? Hearing none. Clerk, please poll the council.
Jones? Yes. Egan? Yes. Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth? Yes. Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
Siam? Yes. Harris?
Bill number 9488 passes and becomes ordinance 8507. Bill number 9489.
Ordinance authorizing transfer of special use permit number 8309 from Mango's Grill Fish and Chicken to MA Food LLC, DBA Pop's Grill Fish and Chicken for the operation of a restaurant located at 8141 North Lindbergh.
Councilman Egan moves for a second reading, second by Mr. Shuldroff. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance authorizing a transfer of special use permit number 8309 from Mango's Grill Fish and Chicken to MA Food LLC, DBA Pop's Grill and Fish and Chicken for the operation of a restaurant located at 8141 North Lindbergh.
Councilman Egan moves for a third reading, second by myself. Roll call, please.
Jones? Egan? Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth? Hanky? Pagano? Parson? Cyan? Harris? Ordinance authorizing a transfer of special use permit number 8309 from Mango's Grill and Fish and Chicken to MA Food LLC, DBA Pops Grill Fish and Chicken, for the operation of a restaurant located at 8141 North Lindbergh.
Before the final vote is taken, does anyone in the audience like to speak on this bill? Seeing none, clerk, please poll the council.
Jones? Egan? Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth? Hanky? Pagano? Parson? Cyan? Harris?
Bill number 9489 passes and becomes ordinance 8508. Bill number 9490.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Control Technology and Solutions, LLC, DBA CCS Group, for the guaranteed energy savings contract for various multiple buildings. Municipal buildings, sorry.
Bill number 9491.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement with Waterproofing Technologies Incorporated, DBA WTI, for roof repair and masonry work for various municipal buildings.
Bill number 9492.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement with the Metropolitan Park and Recreation District, DBA Great Rivers Greenway District, for reimbursement of funds to repair the Sunset Park Trail.
Bill number 9493.
Ordinance amending section 125065A, job classification and grade level, by adding and deleting certain job classifications.
Mr. Jones moves for a second reading, second by myself. Is there any discussion? Mr. Egan.
No, that was previously. We're good.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance amending section 125065A, job classification and grade level, by adding and deleting certain job classifications.
Mr. Jones moves for a third reading, second by Ms. Pagano. Roll call, please.
Jones? Yes. Egan? Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth? Hanky?
Yes.
Pagano? Parson? Cyan? Harris? Ordinance amending section 125065A, job classification and grade level, by adding and deleting certain job classifications.
Before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this bill? Seeing none, clerk, please poll the council.
Jones? Egan? Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth? Hanky? Pagano? Parson? Cyan? Harris?
Bill number 9493 passes and becomes ordinance 8509. Bill number 9494.
Ordinance amending ordinance number 8406, which established the wage range and pay plan for unclassified employees and effective date clause.
I'll make a motion for a second reading, second by Mr. Jones. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance amending ordinance number 8406, which established the wage range and pay plan. I can't read anymore, I'm done. Pay plan for unclassified employees and effective date clause.
Ms. Pagano moves for a third reading, second by myself. Roll call, please.
Jones? Yes. Egan? Yes. Caputa?
Yes.
Shildroth? Hanky? Yes. Pagano? Yes. Parson? Yes. Cyan? Yes. Harris?
Bill number 9494 passes and becomes ordinance 8510.
I didn't read it for the third time. I didn't read it for the third time. I got to read it one more time. I don't want to, but I got to.
One more time.
Ordinance amending ordinance number 8406, which established a wage range and pay plan for unclassified employees and effective date clause. Okay, now.
Before the final vote is taken, is anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this bill?
Oh, yeah, somebody.
Robert Smith, 2823 Chapel View. On this particular bill, I know you removed the economic developer director position, and then now they're going into the different pay scale. Is this economic developer going to be full-time or part-time?
That's what yeah, it'd be a full-time.
They would become a full-time
Yes, sir.
position. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Clerk, Please poll the council for the final vote.
Jones. Yes. Egan. Yes. Caputa.
Yes.
Shildroth. Yes. Hanky.
Yes.
Pagano. Yes. Parson. Yes. Siam. Yes. Harris.
Bill number 9494 passes and becomes ordinance 8510. I'll make a motion that we move the May 27th meeting to May 28th, which is on a Tuesday due to the Memorial Day holiday. Second by Mr. Hinkie. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next item is council announcements. Mr. Jones.
Yep, I'd like to give a shout out to team like I always do. You guys are food pantry. There's always somebody hungry morning, noon, or night. We've all had our ups and downs. Please keep that place in mind. They always take volunteers. They always take some canned goods, some change in the car. If you've got a couple bucks, please run it down to team, you guys. I'd like to talk about the speeding on Lindsay Lane, too. You're going to get a ticket, you keep speeding down there, everybody giggles, but they're all upset when they get a ticket. Another thing I would like to discuss about our lake up in Ferdinand Park. We have spent a lot of money to clean that place up, and we hope for our ducks to stay. But we have to change our ways in feeding the ducks. I know that's sad to say. I've took all my kids up there when they were small to feed them bread and crackers. We can no longer feed them bread and crackers, you guys. There's been 3 signs ordered. They will be posted here shortly. It's not saying you cannot feed the ducks. It's telling you the proper things to feed the ducks. It goes a little bit more than you guys think. It makes our ducks sick. It pollutes our lake. It creates green mosses on our lake. It makes our lake stink. And it causes us to spend money to dredge that thing out every 4 or 5 years. We got to stop. We have to be proactive. We are trying to do that with these new signs. Please do not go up there with a thing of bread and crackers for the ducks, you guys. Jump online. There's lots of things we can feed our ducks. They will be posted with the proper foods. We are now looking at maybe getting some feeders up there that we go up and get a handful and then run over and feed the ducks. But like I said, you guys, please stop with the crackers and bread. I know everybody means well taking their kids up there, but we are trying to be proactive. We are starting to look at our monies. Please help us do this. It's your tax dollars that we're trying to save on this lake. The beautification, we have had new water aiders in there. We've had a new fountain put in. The fountain now has colors. If you go out there, it changes. Me and Mr. Caputa drove through there the other night. We were holding hands and looking at the fountain together. But we were very pleased to look at the different colors that the fountain makes and our healthy ducks walking by. So please, you guys, it takes more than just this council. It takes you people out there. When you take your little grandkids up there, go get a thing of corn or peas or grapes or something like that, not bread or crackers. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I thought I told you not to say that.
Well, I didn't want to come out of the class too hard.
Ms. Parson, Mr. Parson.
Is anybody else a little uncomfortable here right now? Just a few announcements for Ward number 8. The May the 11th Great Ward 8 cleanup event has been rescheduled for June the 1st. Since there was a lot of rain on Saturday, we had to move it to June 1st. It's going to be at 11 o'clock. This is an event that is partnered with the students of McClure North. Our FBLA program there has volunteered to come forward and help pick up the streets of Parker Road, Waterford, Durhakey. We're just going to try and keep the city of Florissant beautiful. I really appreciate their help, and any help that any citizens would like to provide on that day would be greatly appreciated. Additionally, I just want to remind everyone about their Florissant 5. Make sure that you're keeping in touch with your neighbors, your 5 closest neighbors. Make sure that you're watching out for each other's homes, which is kind of correlates with the Neighborhood Watch program. If you see something that's unusual with your neighbors, make sure that you report it. Additionally, this one's a little bit late, but last week was Teacher Appreciation Week. Being the husband of an educator, I know what they go through on a daily basis and the stress that job has, but everybody has gone to school and has had a teacher in their life that has made an influence with them. I know I've had several. So go hug a teacher today. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Parson. Ms. Pagano.
Yes, as many of you heard, we need help on Saturday to bring Eddie the police dog home. The fire department has him, and we would really like him to come back. Officer Mann, I want to thank her. She is having a big fundraiser. The fundraiser is for TEAM and the Shriners Air Patrol. All the proceeds will go to that. There will be auction items, games, hot dogs, snow cones, crafts, and just fun for everyone in the family. It is from 11 o'clock till 2 o'clock this Saturday, the 18th, and we're asking that all the Florissant residents, come one, come all, and help keep Eddie home. Secondly, I would like to thank the mayor's wife, Lori Lowry, for a beautiful Valley of Flowers. I know Mrs. Egan works on that too, and there's many others that are in that, but it was just a wonderful event this year, as usual, so kudos to her. And then also, I don't think he's probably watching because there is a hockey game on that's very important to him, but I would like to wish my husband happy anniversary tomorrow. So
It's recorded.
that's it, yeah. I'll have
Thanks,
him
Ms.
watch it.
Pagano. Mr. Hinkie.
Yes, thank you, President. Couple things. I want to thank all the residents of Ward 6 that came out for the cleanup. And I noticed there's a lot of places that were cleaned up that they didn't actually show up at the date and time, so they took the postcard seriously. But anyway, it was a noticeable cleanup in Ward 6. Thank you. And I'm looking to do another one before the Fall Festival, possibly the weekend before, but you'll get something out. Also, on the Valley of Flowers, I want to thank, we do this every year, but you can't thank them enough. The City of Florissant employees do an outstanding job for the Valley of Flowers. In particular, our police department's second to none. They're keeping this a safe, family-oriented event. Big kudos go out to and thanks to our police department. And last but certainly not least, normally the weather is charged to the most recently elected official of the city. Mayor, I'm going to have to give you that one. It turned out pretty good.
Thank you. I get Mary Elizabeth Monday through Friday leading up to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hinkie. Mr. Harris.
So I just want to say how excited I am also about the Eddie, the police dog, and this opportunity. And it's kind of cool when you see something that really catches on with the community. And today after work, I heard about some children who were having a lemonade stand to raise money, and it's just really inspiring. Mom, I heard from her a little bit in the evening, and she said how many people came today, and so it was just a lot of fun. I know the fire department was there, big fire truck. One of the neighbors across the street said she had fun watching it too, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Saturday, about being there, and somehow I got signed up to be in a dunk tank, so I guess I'm going to do that for the first time in my life. I kind of thought last night, what is this going to be? So I'm nervous, but I'm excited to do that for Eddie and for the benefactors of the charity. Also, just want to say, join the Neighborhood Watch. If you just Google Florissant Neighborhood Watch, it'll come up. You can do it online, 3 minutes. And then remind everybody the 9 p.m. check. Make sure that your car doors are locked, other doors are locked, and valuables removed from the cars. I've seen that the police department continues to put that out there, and even individuals in the community are putting that out there, so it's catching on as well. And that's it. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Mr. Egan.
So I understand it's a dunking booth. I thought it was a drinking booth. I guess I signed up for the wrong one, apparently. That will be a fun event on Saturday. The Elks up on New Halls Ferry, June 8th, they're doing a drug awareness prevention day. They're going to have all sorts of activities for kids, from fingerprinting to bike fitting, helmet fitting. I believe our police department is going to be involved, although that's just across the street from our venue. It's going to be a great event. I hope that everyone shows up between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. at the Elks Lodge up on New Host Ferry Road. I hear that Leah, is it Leela or Leah, is moving her cupcake shop into Ward 6. A world-famous cupcake shop's coming to Ward 6, and it's going to be cupcakes and coffee, and that'll be a great thing, and we can hardly wait. So let's hope that happens like to see it happen earlier. And then finally, I know it was mentioned earlier before I arrived that this is Police Officer Memorial Week. Let's keep the guys and gals in blue and brown in our hearts. Tonight, we have a contingent up in Washington, D.C. right now. The candlelight vigil is probably over by now, but they've got a whole weekend of activities, so let's keep those guys and gals in your hearts and prayers. That's all I got. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Yes, firearms, if you own a firearm, do not keep it in your vehicle. Make sure it's secured. Do not leave it in an unlocked vehicle. We had several of them stolen last week because people were too irresponsible to lock them up. If you're not a responsible firearm owner, you shouldn't own one. Make sure, like Mr. Harris said about your neighborhood watch, make sure you join your neighborhood watch program. We have a very well neighborhood watch program in the city. Make sure you join. Mayor?
Yeah, I just, one thing about the Valley Flowers I want to mention also, everybody else has pretty much touched on everything except I want to congratulate the new Valley Flowers, the 2019 Queen, Grace Scattermeyer, and her court. The first runner-up, Elena Snelling, maids Elena Cribbett, Hannah Crowder, and Elise Sextro. So I want to congratulate them young ladies, and they're going to represent our city for the next year at many different events. And I've had the opportunity to meet them, the Queen and her court, a couple times, and they're very dynamic young ladies, so they'll do a great job. Another thing I want to mention is that, our senior office, which used to be here at City Hall, has now moved to what was the old dining center. That's now going to be the senior center, so that just moved. I want to make sure we mention that. And I've had a very busy 3 weeks, but I won't get into everything that's gone on, but I did want to mention that I think it's important that one of the first things I did was get the police department command staff back in order since I left. So on April the 25th, I named Tim Fagan the new chief of police and Randy Bowden the assistant chief of police. And those that attended, Chief Fagan was sworn in on May the 3rd. It was a very unique situation is that his brother, Sean Fagan, who's the police chief of Raleigh, actually did the swearing-in ceremony. So those that attended, it was a very nice event, and very proud of the fact that Tim and Randy are going to lead this department the next 10, 15, 20 years. They're both outstanding law enforcement officers, and they're going to do a great job with our police department. And the nice thing is that I like to say that they're going to miss a beat because I'm gone, but I don't really believe that. I truly believe that they're going to do a great job. And then last week on May the 9th, they filled the rest of the command staff. Lieutenant Dennis Dehart was promoted to the rank of captain. Sergeant Mark Pounders was promoted to the rank of lieutenant, and Detective Joe Monahan was promoted to the rank of sergeant. I had no say in that whatsoever, but those are three of the gentlemen that I certainly would have put in those positions. So I think the chief's already made some good decisions, and I think the police department now is not going to miss a beat, and they're going to continue. And that's really the biggest thing that I think has happened in my first 3 weeks is we got the police department command staff in order. And I just want to appreciate everything that's gone on. I appreciate all the phone calls, the visits from people, congratulating me on the new position. And like I said, it's been a very hectic 3+ weeks, but it's been very rewarding and certainly trying to learn this new position. But thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor. Next regular meeting for the City Council would be Tuesday, May 28th, 2019. Ms. Pagano moves to adjourn the regular meeting, second by Mr. Hinkie. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned. I need a cigarette. I need a cigarette.